My name is Hiba Karim, engineer and urban planner. In this class, Project 1, I want to explain the thought and ideas and researchers about urban morphology. Me, Hiba Karim, studying architecture at Istanbul Okan University, and my supervisor, Professor Khalil Samih Al-Yaldez. The diversity and complexity of a human settlement is reflected in the range of ways we try to understand them. The richness of subject matter represented by cities has given rise to an equal richness in methods of investigation. Even within a single field, such as urban morphology, there are different approaches with different terms of reference. The challenge raised by the diversity is not how to select between the different views, but how to combine and coordinate them. The purpose of this article is to undertake an initial critical analysis of different approaches to urban morphology in an effort to meet that challenge. The first aim in this article is to study the form of the city and urban morphology of the city by focusing on the four buildings in the same district, and studying the form and the shape, the structure and the shaping of the human settlement. The second aim in this article to understanding the urban morphology comprehensively by compare the pattern and form in two different periods, to show the differently of the form and shape in the same city. The keywords that I use in this video and article: urban morphology, urban form, urban fabric, urban pattern, human settlement in Istanbul. First of all, I want to explain and define what urban morphology means. Introduction. Urban morphology is the study of the form of settlements over time. For some, use of the term urban morphology is fluid and can refer to generic ideas such as central place theory or transects. However, there are far more specific research-based methodologies that rely on measurement, analysis, and comparison of actual places. Urban morphology is often used as a term that ties the form of a place to some other attribute of the place. For example, its economy, historical events, land use, pedestrian costs, urban design, human comfort, and social hierarchies. In this chapter, urban morphology is the study of form in the sense of the physical elements exclusively, rather than the mirrored relationship these elements have to other attributes or qualities. This limitation in definition allows study of form as separate and distinct knowledge area. At the same time, that form is correlated with these attributes, and most studies in urban morphology are geared toward evaluating how form supports broader idea of a place or serves as a background to urban design. The Planning Academy, if not the profession as a whole, is dominated by researchers who consider the social, governance, and economic aspect of the city to be determined. At the same time, physical consider the social, governance, and economic aspects of the city to be determined. At the same time, physical planning and urban design has been taken over by architects, landscape architects, and others, also urban planners. built form has substantial reality and is man-made. The boundary matrix, which is defined as the computation of plots and the linear path of public rights of way, describes lines and space that are measurable and traceable over time, even though they have no physical substance. Finally, land is the natural landscape terrain upon which the built form rests. In the figure 2, we can show the kind of data that are commonly collected to present urban form, isolate from other conditions of the urban environment. Categories of morphological data. In this figure, we can show object, building, and flows, path, land. The School of Urban Morphology. In a number of documents and websites intended for school-level geography, for example, the General Certificate of Secondary Education in the UK, urban morphology is defined as the pattern of land use within a town. The model cities are the construct zone and sector. The material make reference to bedroom theory, financial zone, central business district, and residential zone, distinguished by income group. Some sources are also distinguish between cities within more economical development country and less economical developed country for purpose of comparison. Here we can also the sixth definition of urban form. Physical form: use, activities, movement, control, perception, continuity, change, movement of a flow of materials and information. Looking back at the definition explained previously. And the last one, spatial, analytical, configurational, process, typological, historic, geographical. In this article and this video, I study urban morphology in Istanbul city because Istanbul city is one of the cities that rich with history and rich with many civilizations and during many years ago. Before I start to explain my thought and idea and maps about urban morphology, let us go and see this report in this video and we will be back.
There are well over 20 nation-states today that owe a deep debt to the Ottoman Empire and are the successor states to it. The Ottoman Empire proper can be dated to the early 14th century, and it ends really with the proclamation of the Turkish Republic in 1923. So we're looking at a course that ranges over 7 centuries. Well, we're going to meet a number of remarkable figures in the course, and these are the sultans. Probably the two best-known sultans are Suleiman the Magnificent, who's popularized in novel and movie today, and Mehmet II. It's almost a toss-up between which one is the greater. We'll also meet some extraordinary reformers, such as Mustafa Rashid Pasha, who tries to reform the Ottoman state in the 19th century. We'll also meet Sinan, the master architect of Suleiman the Magnificent. So we have an incredible cast of characters in front of us. Some historians have said that the Ottoman Empire was the perfect military state. And the wars are very important for defining Europe in the early modern age. Europeans still remember the great sieges of Vienna, the great naval battle of Lepanto in 1571. On the other hand, what they're not familiar with are the wars waged between the Ottomans and the Persians or Iranians, the Safavid Shahs of Iran, who were Shiite rulers. And these wars define the modern Middle East, its religious and political boundaries. And then above all, we'll deal with a number of wars between the Ottoman state and the Russian Empire, a rivalry that exists down to this day. One of the reasons for doing this course is to bring to the attention of the West, and that would include Europe and the Americas, a sense of the importance of Ottoman history, not only for the peoples of the Middle East, but for ourselves.
The Ottoman Empire, taught by Professor Kenneth Harl. Order it now from the Great Courses.
In this study, I use 4 periods to study urban morphology and human settlement in Istanbul. The first period, 1853, 1875, and 1922, and 2020. And the 1875 fire has been happened in the place shown in red area, figure 4, or the figure in the same years, 1875. Catastrophe affected in the form and shape of the city and also affected to the pattern in the place that damaged by fire. In this figure, we can see a different period in Istanbul. Because of urban morphology, compare between many periods to see the difference between the space and building and the solid and void in the city. In this map, we can see the fire and the area that destroyed by a fire in 1875, and we can see by the red area that's shown in this figure. Perhaps the fire and any catastrophe in the city that affected in the shape of the city, in the shape of the building, and space between the building and the other things that associated with this case. We can see and make a compare between the periods that before a fire and after the fire has been taken. In this figure, show the form of the city during the 2 periods, 1853 and 1875, and we can see the areas that destroyed with the fire, before the fire, and during the fire. In these figures, we can see maps for periods, different periods, and we can see also the void and the soul, the urban morphology. I draw the building, the shape, and the space between the building on its map, and we can make a comparison between the 4 buildings that I choose to compare them and to study urban morphology around them. The first building I chose, ARCH Bank. ARCH Bank was founded in 1924. Also, there were other banks which were established during the Ottoman Empire. Per 1922, ARCH Bank was the first to be established in Republic era. One of the founders of the museum was Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of Turkish Republic. We can see also the urban morphology in 2 periods, different periods, in 1922 and 2020. The entrance of each bank building, to left, the ancient in 1922, and the figure to right, 2020. And also there's 3 figures inside the building. In this slide, we can see the second building, PTT, and we can see that drawing about urban morphology in 3 different periods, 1875, 1922, 2020, and the figures, the entrance of PTT building, and the figure also inside the building. We can see the shape of the path and the street around the building and inside the building also. The third building that I chose in this video and article, Istanbul Chamber of Commerce. We can see three periods, different periods about urban morphology: 1875, 1922, 2020. Also, we can see in these figures the two different shape to the building in different time, 1922, 2020. This building is Istanbul Railway Museum. This is urban morphology for all building. In conclusion,